Good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to episode number 10 of the Dermatologist and the Rabbi. Today, unfortunately, again, it will be solo me alone. And what better way to crown our 10th episode than with a Friday night Parsha that coincides with Independence Day here in the United States. It brings to mind the powerful words of our first president, George Washington, in his historic 1790 letter to the Jewish community in Newport, Rhode Island. Everyone shall sit in safety under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid. These were not just poetic words, they were a covenant, a dedication that America would be a land where freedom was sacred and faith respected, where people of all creeds and nationalities could live in peace, guided by divine principles, as long as they were loyal citizens who contributed to the country and didn't try to change its founding principles. Today, as we explore Parshat Chukat, we reflect on that same divine demand, that faith must lead to restraint and that true leadership means not letting frustration override obedience. This country, founded on Judeo-Christian values, is not just a political experiment. It is a beacon, a promise, a place where names like Philadelphia aren't just names, but reflections of a moral dream. Brotherly love, that's what Philadelphia stands for. A home for the human soul, a sanctuary for all who seek to live in truth and in peace. So, with this prelude to our 4th of July, a quick summary of the Parsha. This Parsha is very interesting, and it talks about the red heifer, which is the red cow, that when you are tameh, when you are impure, you burn the ashes of the red cow and you put it on yourself, and this purifies you when you're in contact with something, with a dead person. But the paradoxical thing is that the one who prepares the ashes becomes impure, while those who receive them are purified. This teaches us that holiness often works beyond logic. Faith sometimes demands obedience when we don't fully understand it. And so when they talk about the red cow, there is something that I believe no one has, to my knowledge, addressed or realized, and this is my personal, as a dermatologist, explanation, how do you get a red cow? But before we get there, the other part is, again, the people are complaining, and again, we'll discuss why are they in the same chapter. So we have the red cow to purify people. We will talk about how the red cow, what it means, the red cow. And then you have the people, again, you have to think about it. There's over 1 million people following Moses, and they're complaining again. Why? Because they don't have water. And so he's told by God, speak to the stone. But instead of speaking to the stone, he strikes the stone and water gushes out and the people are satisfied. But the wise translators explain in the Torah Sheba'al Peh, in the verbal Bible, that is not in the written Bible, because the written Bible is very laconic, it's very short. If they would write the way I speak or like to write, they would never finish it. So they don't explain it, but what basically happened, they say, is that he spoke to the stone, but he spoke to the wrong stone. And they started laughing at him. And in frustration, he ended up moving on and striking the stone. And God says, well, you did not follow my instructions. You disobeyed me. You are held to a higher standard. And because of that, you're not going to bring the people into the promised land, so you will have to stay in the desert. That's where you will finish your days. And the question is, why this strong punishment to someone who's been so faithful, worked so very, very hard? And we're going to quickly reflect on that. So this is the story of this chapter, and there's a lot that we can learn from it about leadership, about people, and about what happens when you're surrounded by people who constantly complain. And one of the things that we are learning here is that when you are surrounded by people who are negative, whether you are positive or not, there will be a point in time that it will affect you, and you will end up reflecting that negativity back, just like with them. He started, even though he was very, very humble and he had a lot of patience, his patience became fractured. And just like the stone that he broke, that he fractured, so too his patience broke. And he had to hit the stone because he was already impatient. It's like, I don't have enough energy. And that's why we should always try to surround ourselves with people who are better than us, so they will help us get higher, as opposed to people who are not the kind that would bring positivity into our life. And it's sometimes hard. And so we should always try ourselves to rise and bring people up with us, and start every day with cleansing ourselves. When I start my mornings, I start it with first gratitude to God for the ability to wake up in the morning. And there's a prayer like that that people say, that is organized prayer. Funnily, I came to that idea also myself. My prayer is a little different, but it's the same idea of gratitude. And then I start by breathing and meditation, and then I do the rest of my day. And the same thing you have to do in order to cleanse yourself and prepare yourself to battle each day anew. And then the question is, what is the red cow? As I promised, I'll tell you. So the red cow, I believe, is actually a cow that was completely with vitiligo. It's an autoimmune disorder. And why is it important? Is because the body is attacking the own pigment and other organ systems. And the reason it's attacking is because the immune system is revved up, it's stressed out. And when it attacks it, it becomes white. So why are they red? Because if you look, when you are with vitiligo, and there are a lot of different animals that develop vitiligo, when you're in the sun, you're trying to get the pigment, but instead of getting the pigment, you're getting red because you're getting like a sunburn. So that is, in my belief, what a heifer, a red cow, actually means. Now, why is it also at the same time talking about Moses? Because the same thing happening is with Moses. In the process of purifying the rest and helping them and giving them what they want, which is the water that they were looking for, he is becoming impure himself, because he is stressing out. And when he's stressing out, he is not following exactly what God told him to do. Even though he is faithful to God, he believes in God, he always is the most loyal, humble servant of God, he also, as any leader, can make a mistake, and that is his mistake that he does, and he ends up hitting the stone. So this is his face, kind of you can think of it, turns red with anger at this thing. And the idea is that we need to be weary. We need to be aware of the things that we absorb. Even when we're trying to heal others, you don't want to lose your inner clarity. So the other thing that I want to say is, in life we all strike the rock. As physicians, parents, professionals, we face constant pressure. Frustration is real. But in Chukat, it reminds us that leadership is not about results alone, it's about process. The moment we stop listening, the moment we let anger dictate action, even if the outcome looks successful, like the water came out of the stone, something sacred is lost. God didn't want the people to see power. He wanted them to see faith in speech, in words, in trust. So the lesson is, don't let your moment of frustration become your moment of failure. Speak, don't strike. Pause, don't react. Follow through even when your spirit feels worn out. Because faith is tested not in calm, but in crisis. Well, the 4th of July moral for leadership. This week also marks the 4th of July, as we said, America's Independence Day, a day when we reflect on the founding principles of this nation. That true freedom is not the absence of laws, but the presence of moral clarity. The Declaration of Independence boldly proclaims that our rights came not from governments, but from our Creator. That idea that liberty is sacred and rooted in faith is part of the Judeo-Christian foundations that built this nation. But while we celebrate those values, we must also remain vigilant, because not everyone shares that moral inheritance. Here, unfortunately, in New York City, Zoran Mandani, a candidate now running for mayor, represents a worldview that rejects these very foundations. He has spoken out against Israel's right to self-defense and embraces an ideology that treats restraint as weakness and faith-based morality as obsolete. He and others like him strike not just with anger, but with anger veiled in social justice slogans, playing on divisions, on political divisions that erode the shared moral framework this country was built upon. This is more than politics. This is about preserving the soul of our nation. So as we read Chukat, which is my laws as it's translated, and celebrate our independence, let us ask, will we follow Moses, held to a higher moral standard even during crisis, or will we empower those who strike in frustration, masked in righteous language, but aim at dismantling the values that keep us whole? Shalem, remember? Shabbat is from the word whole. Because as the Torah teaches and history confirms, when leaders strike in anger, veiled in slogan, I don't need to mention them, you guys know them yourself, like Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, nations lose their way. Parsha Chukat isn't just about the red heifer or a rock, it's about remembering who we are when we're most tested. If you remember one thing today, let it be this. Obedience under pressure is not weakness, it's holiness. Thank you again for joining me for episode number 10, Chukat, when frustration cracks patience. Until next time, keep your voice calm, your steps steady, and your faith honest. And as we said, live in dermatology, be good, do good, say good, and may good come your way. God bless you. Happy 4th of July, and may our freedom and our values never crack. God bless you all. Shabbat Shalom.